Namaste and welcome everyone to the special episode of Seedhi Baat. This is your host Lovepreet Kaur and I welcome you with complete grace and positivity. I hope all of you are doing really well in this pandemic situation, and I also know that we all need a dose of motivation and empowerment to survive, in fact live the post-COVID era. So today we have a very special guest with us, Miss Bisi from Nigeria, who will be talking about youth empowerment and leadership post-COVID era. Without any further ado, we will straight away jump into the podcast and we'll try to know more about BC, who is a youth leader from Nigeria. She has discussed about her achievements in the introduction audio, so do tune in to her introduction to know more about her. Right now, let's ask her the first question. So, BC, I want to know from you, how would you compare the situation pre COVID and post COVID? How do you think the industries like health, politics, or economy have more scope for the youth? And what are your observations about the changes that would come post COVID? In fact, I would like you to elaborate more on what was the situation of the world pre COVID and what are the emerging opportunities for the youth in the sectors like health, education, environment, technology, politics, and economy in general.
Thank you very much for having me on this podcast. I really appreciate the opportunity given. Now, let's get right into the first question. We need to accept and anticipate that there will be differences in the world post COVID. The world we knew before the pandemic started will not be the world we know after. The way our lives were run, the way businesses were run, the way education was accessed, and even the way healthcare was delivered before the pandemic will not be the exact same way it would be after the pandemic. It takes just about 66 days to learn a new habit. And as soon as the pandemic started, we were told to adopt new behaviors, new ways of living, just to protect ourselves from the infection. We had to practice social distancing, avoid crowds, avoid people, keep distances of 2 to 6 meters between us and any other person, wear face masks, avoid places of density. And we have had to go through this for at least a few months. Post COVID, some of these habits learned will be difficult to shed, and we might have to live with the residual changes that they have brought. In businesses, people are preferring to work from home now. Many companies are resorting to having most of their staff work remotely from their houses. This, they say, would help them save money off of company sites and estate leases, while making more money available for employee compensation. In transportation, many people do not want density anymore. They want to use commutes that have less people packed in a place. So trains that used to have so many people on them would find that they would have less people wanting to take those means of transportation, and people might want to walk, take their own cars, other private means of transportation, or even ride their bicycles if possible. In healthcare, there has been an upscale of the use of telemedicine services, and many people prefer to call in and talk about their symptoms on phone for the fear of contacting COVID-19 on their way to the hospital or even at the hospitals. This would lead to many people presenting late at hospitals with cases that could have been presented earlier on and treated and managed at an early stage. There's also been significant improvement in investments in personal protective equipment, and we believe that this trend will continue even post COVID-19. There has also been large investment in research, and these are trends that I believe will continue post COVID-19. In businesses, people prefer to order online and have them products delivered to their houses, and very few people are going out to stores and shops to buy them by themselves. They would rather order these things online and have them delivered. So if we look at all these differences that are occurring, we'll see that certain sectors will have an upskill in the use of their services, while some other sectors will have their services decreased. All forms of telecommunications, all forms of online shopping, delivery businesses, every form of transportation involving delivery of products to people's homes will have their services being more in high demand than products or services that need you to go in person to a particular place, especially if you know that place will be crowded. So this and many more are some of the differences that we anticipate in the world post-COVID, and we should be ready to accept these differences and navigate them properly for our own benefit. The changes, post-COVID 19 world changes, will come with opportunities and challenges. Opportunities that, if we see and position ourselves appropriately, we can take them, and challenges that we also need to anticipate so that we can circumnavigate them so we're not affected as much. For example, in the tech world, we've seen that on the opportunity end, there's been a massive increase in the use of social media and video conferencing apps. So people whose businesses are normally on social media have their businesses thriving, as opposed to those who do not have their businesses represented on social media. Also, we've had a rapid deployment of new technologies in this season, and people are realizing that anyone who comes up or invents a new technology that could help solve problems in this season have these technologies being introduced into the general public fast without them going through as much scrutiny as they would under normal circumstances. For example, somebody invents a technology that could help with coronavirus diagnosis and treatment. It will not go through all the steps it would normally go through before being introduced into the general public as before. And now it could just be used almost immediately as it is created without knowing if it could have a negative impact on us in the future. On the challenge end of technology, we've seen that there has been massive increase in misinformation and disinformation on social media. So like we have an information pandemic, which some have coined an infodemic. There's been a lot of wrong information concerning coronavirus and concerning other situations that have led to negative reactions of people all over social media. There's also been a massive increase in cyber crimes, as so many people are conducting their money transactions, their business transactions and money transactions also online. So these are some of the opportunities and challenges that the tech world is facing at this time. In the aspect of economics and jobs, we've seen that a lot of companies have had to lay off their staff in this season. So many companies laid off a good amount of, even up to 50%, some of them laying up to 50% of their employees in this season as an attempt to balance their demand and their supply. So when they see that their products are not in as much demand as they used to be, in order for them to still keep making profits, they laid off some of their staffs so as to reduce the costs incurred in payment of staff wages. But this, even though it might profit the companies in that they still get to make some profits in this season, generally does not profit the society or the economy at large, because we have that there are more families that do not have a source of livelihood, and that is negatively impacting the economy of the society and of the country in general. In the aspect of economics and jobs, we've seen that a lot of companies have had to lay off their staff in this season. So many companies laid off a good amount of, even up to 50%, some of them laying up to 50% of their employees in this season as an attempt to balance their demand and their supply. So when they see that their products are not in as much demand as they used to be, in order for them to still keep making profits, they laid off some of their staffs so as to reduce the costs incurred in payment of staff wages. But this, even though it might profit the companies in that they still get to make some profits in this season, generally does not profit the society or the economy at large, because we have that there are more families that do not have a source of livelihood, and that is negatively impacting the economy of the society and of the country in general. In healthcare has been like the most affected sector from this pandemic in terms of resources available to treat COVID-19 patients. We've had hospitals overladen with COVID-19 patients, the healthcare workers not being able to meet up with the burden of the patients, and also even health workers being affected by the disease and some of them losing their lives to COVID-19. Whilst this has been a major challenge to healthcare, this time has also presented an opportunity for us to take back some major health reforms. COVID-19 has made it clear to us that universal health coverage is good for everybody. For someone having to think about how much they have in their pockets before being able to access healthcare negatively impacts everyone. If people had to pay for COVID-19 care, then you know how bad the pandemic would have gotten how much more people would have been infected if not that the services were being offered free of charge. So this is a time when opportunities for universal health coverage, for health insurance policies to be put. These are times when universal health coverage and health insurance policies need to be put in place. Also, we have seen the need for better leadership in healthcare in this time, and also the need for better healthcare funding in this season also.
Well, BC, I think you have done a great job in elaborating on all of these points. You have left no stone unturned in terms of whatever the challenges and opportunities are, especially for the youth at a global level. And there is light at the end of the tunnel. We all know that there are always some or the other opportunities hidden inside the challenges. But the bigger challenge is to identify those opportunities and then to work on them so that they work for you in the future. The bigger task is already done. You have accomplished it so well. Hats off to your observation and resilience on finding out all these opportunities for people. Now, I want to know from you how to probably implement these opportunities. As you were discussing that so many people have lost their jobs and they are all broken down right now. I feel this pandemic and the lockdown has not only caused an economic downfall, but it has also led to emotional breakdown in people. Everyone is so negative right now. There are so many people, especially the youth, who feel that they don't have any way, and they are disheartened because they probably had no employment, or if even if they had, they are probably losing jobs. So I want to know from you, how do we manifest that feeling of leadership and positivity in people? Because probably to recognize the opportunities and then to work for them, a person has to have a very optimistic outlook towards life. Before skills, before talent, what we need is a positive outlook. So what are your recommendations on how we can identify the leadership avenues for people, and what according to you is leadership in post covid world? How can we prepare the youth for that?
Thank you very much for that question. I like that you highlighted that there has been an increase in mental stress that a lot of people are facing in this season, due to the fact that some people have been laid off their jobs. Some people know people or have family members who have been affected directly by the illness. Some have lost family members. Even for some, just the fact that they've had to stay away from other people, away from their regular communications with family and friends. They've not had that support system in terms of the cordiality of relationships from people, and this has negatively impacted their mental health. So yes, there has been a lot of increase in the report of anxiety and panic attacks. There has been an increase in the reports of mental illness, depression, even suicidal ideation and attempts in this season. Part of leading properly in this time would be our ability to respond properly to some of these challenges that are rising in the mental status of people by trying to promote communication about mental health stability at this time. Also providing forms of support for people with mental health challenges at this time. We also need to create alternative routes where people with mental health problems can reach out to their healthcare givers and receive the adequate care that they need. So we know that it has not really been an essential service that they need to go to the hospital at this time when we're cutting down the number of people going to hospitals. But yes, we need to start thinking of providing platforms where people with mental worries and stresses can reach out to their healthcare givers and receive the kind of care and support they need, both professionally and also from their friends and families. Leadership post COVID-19 world, as I would like to describe it, as an actively taking charge of leadership. So if we decide to focus on, it's important that while we live in the present, we need to lead from the future. And that is basically what my discussion today will be centered around, leading from the future. So the only way we can achieve true success post COVID-19 in leadership will be to be able to anticipate future changes, to be able to look into the future, envision what we want for our societies, our communities, our businesses, and lead from that future back down to today. So what I'm trying to say essentially is if we are leading people from the present, we'll be leading them in a passively reactive way. So what would happen is we'll be reacting to situations and circumstances that will be arising. So when things happen, we react to them, we react to them, and we're not actively taking charge of how we want things to turn out. So COVID-19 has really devastated a lot of communities, a lot of countries. A lot of countries are having so many problems and issues, even with their governance and with their politics at this season. So it will be necessary that we take active steps and lead from the future. So we need to look into the future and see what do we want, how do we want to balance the state of politics or the state of the business. Because when I talk about leading in this discussion, I'm not talking only about leading in political positions. I'm talking about every form of leadership: leading a small community, leading a small campus community, a small religious group, leading your family, leading a group of friends to achieve a particular goal. So all forms of leadership. Because of how the world has changed drastically in this season, the only way to successfully lead people will be to look into the future, to anticipate and to envision what you want that your community or your business or your nation to look like in the future, and take active steps to get it there, rather than leading from the present where you will be responding to day-to-day circumstances and happenings.
Thank you so much for the wonderful answer, BC. And by the kind of answer that you have given and the conversations that I've had with other youth leaders from different countries, I can pretty much make out that the mental health crisis is common in all the nations, regardless of what country we belong to. I have seen that just like the pandemic has hit the world really hard, this mental health crisis is also hitting all of us. Somewhere or the other, all of us have become negative. We have had low points in this lockdown and we have become hopeless. But definitely, just like you said, change is inevitable. And if we don't adapt to changes, we will be far fetched from our futures and realities. So it's important to train our youth by showing them what to do next. Because if we work for our future, we are somehow able to be positive and will be walking towards a better future. And this way, I feel, as you talked about imagination, this plays a huge role. I still remember one of my teachers from primary schools used to say that imagination is an art. If you have the power to imagine something, you can actually manifest that in your life in reality. You can make that your future. And we really need to train our youth leaders to think in a very positive manner and to prepare for a better future post COVID, so that we are able to make the world a better place to live for all of us in terms of economy and also in terms of health. We need to be prepared that the next pandemic that comes in the world, we don't have to face it with like minimum preparation. We should be prepared for it, and that's like motivating yourself to work harder and harder to get that goal accomplished. This brings me to my next question, BC, which I feel is a common question that everyone has. Given that the situation of pandemic is a very volatile situation where nothing is clear, we don't know what's going to happen the next day, the next month, where are we going to be? Because maybe 3 months before, I never imagined that I would be locked down in my room and I would not be going out, chilling out, studying, or living a normal life. Life is really unpredictable right now. We were talking about imagination and envisioning the future. Let's say I'm a youth leader and I have somehow become positive. I have some goal for the future. I know what future should look like and what kind of a situation I should be in. But still, because life is unpredictable and there are so many things happening around, how do we achieve that clarity in such a time of confusion? That's what my next question is. How to be as vigilant as an eagle so that we are clear about what we want. Achieving it is again secondary. How to be strong about your decisions. That's what I want to hear from you now.
So, thank you very much for your question. And I really like that you mentioned the art of imagination, which I absolutely agree with. And I'm going to be talking about how to achieve clarity on this time. I'm going to drop some tips about how to achieve clarity about your vision at this time. But first of all, let me just quickly speak on vision. So the first thing I want to say in is that such a time as this, like you mentioned, which is a very unpredictable time, things have been happening and spiraling out of control. I remember when coronavirus first came to Nigeria, we thought it was just going to stay for a few weeks, and then the cases will be eliminated. Even despite what we had seen, we just imagine that our own case might not be exactly the same way, but we have seen that even till now we're still on a partial lockdown, and the cases are still increasing by the day. And same thing in so many other countries. So it's very important at this time that you have a vision for yourself and for your company, or your business, or for your community. Vision is urgent. If you do not have a vision, you will just be moving every day, responding to the situation of coronavirus that is happening and the distractions that are coming via social media, without planning for yourself and for what you want to achieve. So you need to have a vision. Sit back, think about it. 10 years time, 5 years time, 2 years time. What do you want? Where do you see yourself in these time frames? At 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? Where do you see yourself? Where do you see your company? Where do you see your society? Where do you see your business at every of these timelines? And then when you have looked at it and you have seen what you want to do, where you want to be, you can begin to work from there downwards by setting short-term goals that you would achieve on your way to getting to that path. For example, I would use myself as an example that, okay, probably in 10 years I would like to be an accomplished consultant in emergency medicine, practicing in emergency medicine, either in Nigeria or in another country. But to get there, I would need to do certain things on my way to getting there. First of all, finishing medical school, then taking international exams, then matching for a residency in emergency medicine, then taking and completing the training. So I have looked into the future and I've seen where I want to be in 10 years. And then I'm going to make short term goals on my way to achieving that my vision on a long term. Now, we know that and vision is not the same as prediction, because it is never 100% accurate. Along the line, many things will happen that may not be exactly what you want it to be. But the fact that you have an endpoint, you have a goal that you're looking at, it helps you adjust yourself when those changes come. So for example, I have seen that I want to be a consultant, and I would like that in 5 6 months I'm done and I've graduated from medical school. But assuming the coronavirus extends beyond that time, I'm going to have to shift my goalposts and adjust my timelines to be able to accommodate the changes that the situation has brought to me. So I have spoken that is it about vision and envisioning where you want to be. So while having this vision for yourself and where you want to be, clarity is necessary, because if you're not clear exactly, if you don't have some form of clarity at all, you would follow wherever the wind blows you, and you find that you are doing several things that are not necessarily in line with your end point or in line with your goals at the end of the day. So some of the things I would tell you about achieving clarity for yourself, some of the tips that I will share with you for achieving clarity for yourself, is to practice questioning. So you have to continually question yourself and ask yourself questions about the things that you're doing. So every step you're taking, is this in line with my goal? Is this in line with my endpoint? Is this in line with my vision? Or am I just doing this temporarily to pass time? So you need to constantly question yourself in every activity you're taking up, every step you're taking along the way to getting to your vision, so that you are always clear. Also, make sure you practice the art of meditation. This is a time where you just sit out and allow your mind to brood over the kind of things that you want to see, the kind where you want to be exactly. I know that a lot of people practice meditation in different forms, but I like to take maybe 5 to 10 minutes, sometimes even more, 30 minutes out of my day, to sit down in a quiet place and think about my vision, my goals, what I am doing to achieve them, where I am. When I do this, I find that I can prioritize appropriately, accurately, and I do not just fill up my time doing activities that are not getting me anywhere. So whenever I meditate, I realize, okay, this activity is more important to my getting to my vision than this other activity. So you need to practice meditation, and with meditation, it can actually help you with prioritization appropriately. Another thing you need to do is to not let distractions get to you. And how I would say this is, as we go about life, different distractions will come up day to day, different activities will come up, different things like on social media, different things will come up. There'll be things to respond to happening in different countries, and we always want to say something about it and do something about it. But you always have to remember that you do not let those distractions get the better of you and be sole focus during at any point in time. So how you can deal with some of distractions, what I do is I jot down things. So each time I have so many things clogging my mind, a lot of distractions, I'm thinking about so many things, I pick up a journal of mine and I begin to write them, all those things down. I realize that when I write all the things that are clogging and stressing my mind, they leave my mind and I have mental peace to be able to focus on the activities that are important to me.
Very well said, BC. You would see that we find these points like meditation in calm places, socializing with people, and sharing your feelings and thoughts with them, or writing down in your journal usually helps people either cope up with stress or just manifest their dreams in general. But according to me, if someone experiences it in reality and then shares it with someone, it makes more sense. And you have done exactly like that. I would say that this happens with me also. I absolutely feel that writing down either your stress or worries or your aims and visions usually helps you consolidate the facts and understand yourself better. Whenever you are in stress or you're worried, you should talk to people. Don't keep it inside of you, because depression and stress is, they are some of the problems which do not spread like pandemics. They don't show up, but they can actually eat you up from within. At the same time, to consolidate on your facts, what you want to be, to make yourself more clear about your life, write down what your vision is, where you see yourself from 5 years from now. I'm sure that writing is not everyone's hobby, and no, everyone won't like writing down. You can just type it out on your phone, because anyway we are having a typing culture these days. We type for hours and hours to chat with people. You can spare 5 minutes for yourself to calm yourself down and to prepare yourself for the future, to prepare yourself as a youth leader. That's really important. Thank you so much for sharing such wonderful insights, BC, from your personal experience. I really hope people can be benefited from all that you've shared. Having said all of that, and to take this discussion forward, BC, I want to talk to you about something very important, which is inclusiveness. It's said that when we work in teams, the job becomes easier and the possibility of success becomes higher. Also, when we work with people with diverse knowledge and each of them have their own skills, they can contribute more to our cause. The world is shrinking right now, and we need to learn how to accommodate and respect people from diverse backgrounds. They usually say you should hang out with people who are like minded, who have similar talents and skills, who are like you, and who are a good company. Well, I do agree with the fact that the kind of people you surround yourself with has largely to do with your character, your personality, your mentality, and your success. But how can we do smart collaborations? Is this one of the ways in which leadership can be seen in the future? I mean, post COVID, especially. I want to know your take on it, and I want you to elaborate on how this can actually be practiced in daily life.
Thank you very much. And I like that you also mentioned that we should always have people around us. That is very correct. It's very important that at every point in time, even on our way to achieving our vision, that we are surrounded by like people who can help us achieve, who can help us on our way to achieving those that vision. We can always talk with these people about our ideas, about our plans, even about our stressors, and even in times when we're not feeling very good, and they could help us, walk through those times with us. It's very important, even for our mental health and positivity, to boost your mental health and positivity, that you always have people that you can talk about with. So not just writing things down, but I write things down, things are like distractions. So what I write specifically are distractions, not necessarily things that make me upset, but maybe things like, oh, at this point in time I'm thinking of school exams, I'm thinking of this, I'm thinking of that. So it's not necessarily something unhappy, but it's a distraction in my mind. So I write all my distractions down so that they can give me some free mental space. Yes, thank you for saying the world is shrinking, although figuratively, and as we know, the world is becoming a global village. It is much more easy to access people from different countries, different places that you might never even go to, because of the presence of social media and technological platforms, than it used to be years before. Now you can get people, young people, working together with each other from various countries, achieving goals without even ever having to meet in person. The idea for this podcast, for this particular episode of this podcast, was made to known to me via LinkedIn. We met on LinkedIn and we're able to pull this together using LinkedIn and other apps or chatting apps that helped us to bring this together. So, yes, how I would like to describe this concept of smart collaboration, like you asked, is first of all, I first heard this term smart collaboration from Heidi Gardner of Harvard Law School, and she described it as bringing together experts in various fields to solve complex world problems. So, like we have seen, the problems that plague the world these days are not problems of any particular sector. They're problems that cut across several sectors all at the same time. And then you being an expert in one field may not be able to achieve success over that problem or may not be able to solve that problem. For example, look at coronavirus. It's essentially a healthcare problem. However, various other fields have been affected by it. Economy has been affected by it, politics has been affected by it, every other form, every many other sectors have been affected, like jobs, people have lost their jobs and so many other things. So to be able to solve the problems that coronavirus, the pandemic, has brought, we need to pull together people of various specialties, experts in their fields, who can bring together their resources in terms of knowledge to solve these problems. So that is what smart collaboration is about. Not just gathering people together, not just gathering 10 people, but gathering 10 experts in the necessary fields that can contribute adequately to the problem that is at hand. So that is the point of smart collaboration. It is a collaboration that has a goal in mind and has a purpose. It's a purposeful collaboration. So yes, as young people, we need to learn how to leverage on these social media opportunities that he has given us to reach out to people in different places and in different fields, and to be able to pull together those people and resources that we have to solve problems of the world. Now, inclusivity is something we have to embrace as we practice smart collaboration. Inclusivity is just we learning to work with the people from diverse backgrounds who may even have ideas and beliefs that we may not necessarily agree with at every point in time, but we need to work with them if we must see the change that we want. So, I am from Nigeria, but you, my moderator, is from India, and but we are having to work together to put this podcast, to bring together this the idea for this podcast. And that is what we mean by inclusivity. And it's not just in doing a podcast like this, but in every sector. So when we have in businesses, in politics, in every other form, to be able to bring together people of different backgrounds. Sometimes, in fact, every time, that mix of people from diverse backgrounds brings together ideas that would not necessarily have if we kept the opportunities within a particular sector of people. It brings different forms of opinions and takes on life that helps us achieve a richer to build a richer base of knowledge to be able to solve problems. So let me just quickly give this other example of coronavirus again, and when different countries had to bring their own specialties in different things to help solve the problem. So in Africa, for example, Senegal came up with rapid diagnostic testing kits that saved so much money based on their experience with dealing with other communicable disease. Some other countries came up with cheaper ventilators, cheaper mechanical ventilators, because they have very high technological advancement in that field. And so that's just us pulling together our resources, working from different countries in different, bringing together people from diverse backgrounds to essentially come together to solve a problem and achieve a goal. I also want to say that as young people who want to be at the forefront of our different sectors, we need to stay committed to our personal and professional development. We live in a fast-paced world, and we see more and more that there are more demands on us in terms of skills and knowledge required for us to achieve goals and make a difference. So we need to stay committed to our own personal and professional development by expanding our knowledge, by learning new skills, and even bettering the skills that we already have at every given opportunity so that we can deliver better results.
Well, I think the concept of smart collaborations is something we all need to learn and we all need to implement this in our lives, both in personal and professional lives. Just like BC also focused on the fact that living around positive and like minded people is useful, but at the same time, you should be inclusive enough that you consider the world as one and you are having the skills to cope up and move on with all sorts of peoples, diverse people around globe. She quoted the example of knowing about this initiative on LinkedIn. Let me tell you, we have talked about the importance of LinkedIn as a platform for leveraging personal and professional success in a webinar recently, where leaders from three different continents discussed how LinkedIn is actually working wonders for people who are looking for conducive circles to collaborate with. Well, I was one of the speakers there who talked about personal success with LinkedIn. You should definitely look on to such social media platforms which provide you conducive environments and leadership skills. They also allow you for smart collaborations. Make sure that you implement this rule, learn and swear by this rule in both your personal and professional life. This was one of the best outcomes of this podcast, I feel. And it's really appreciable how BC has included a very small but strong message, which is commitment towards personal and professional development. I think I cannot stress enough on the fact that we are looking for opportunities post lockdown, but during the lockdown, one of the biggest opportunities that you have is to upgrade your skills and knowledge as per the industry needs and what your needs are. If you have set some goals for your personal life or for your professional life, you obviously need to work towards them and you have to update yourself every single day, because data and information are increasing at such a fast rate that every single day you might miss out on something really big. And this period of lockdown is a great time for you to refresh on your knowledge and to add more skills to yourself so that you can actually be an asset to the developing world. And when you club the personal and professional success with meaningful collaborations, it can work wonders for you. Platforms like LinkedIn are the best for leveraging personal and professional success. Very recently, in a webinar, there were three youth leaders from three different continents who talked about how LinkedIn has changed their lives and how it has the tendency and ability to change the lives of so many other youth leaders across globe. Well, I was one of the speakers. I was honored to be there and discuss personal success with LinkedIn. It's very important that you collaborate with the right kind of people on these platforms that provide you a conducive environment for your growth and for the growth of the fellows over there. So I think BC's point that you should be using these social media networks to enhance your skills, to upgrade your connections, and to make meaningful collaborations is really, really important. We should all swear by this particular message for our life. Having said all of this, I really hope that this podcast helps you define your goals and identify the path towards accomplishing your goals, because I think BC has covered a lot of things in the most beautiful manner. In this short duration of 30 minutes, she has given us life lessons. Now, this brings me to the end of this podcast, and I want to know from you, BC, how important is training for leadership, because we have talked a lot about the importance of leadership, how youth has to wake up and become leaders for the future, how leadership is going to transform our lives post covid, and also many steps to achieve it. But I want to know from you now, is it important that we actually have training for leadership? Because if that's going to add any value to the lives of people, then I think we should definitely be doing that. What's your take on it?
Thank you very much for that question. And I really appreciate that question. And I want to talk about this because I know I said earlier in my introduction phase that I believe that everyone at some point in their lives would have to lead either formally or informally. So whether you're appointed to a position of leadership or informally, you have somebody who you're supposed to lead even without being given a traditional position or being a position being given to you in that sense. But at some point in all our lives, we would have to lead people in our families, in our communities, in our societies, in our religious organizations, in our businesses, and even political places of leadership. So it is very important that if we're all going to have to lead somebody at some point, that we are all equipped with leadership skills. If we all have these leadership skills, at every point we find ourselves leading, we will do it excellently, and we will have all these successes with leadership, even from very small settings of families and communities, and this will also translate to bigger successes as a country and globally. So, about training for leadership, I've heard some people say that leaders are born and people are born into leadership. And while I believe that some people are born with stronger leadership instincts than others, or they are raised by their parents to have stronger leadership instincts than others, I believe that leaders are made and not necessarily born. This means that leadership skills are not an inherent gift is not an inherent gift that is available to only a selected few people, but it can be demonstrated by anyone who is ready to go through that training to become a better leader. So we all have, especially the youth who are planning to take up positions of leadership in the post-COVID-19 world and to make differences and changes in our countries and globally, we need to receive training, formal forms of training for leadership. So I encourage you to take a leadership class online, to join, listen to podcasts, to listen to read blogs, read about leadership, learn about how to build and expand on your leadership skills. This will prepare you for positions of leadership when you eventually get into them, because you will get into them one day.
Absolutely right, BC. I totally agree with you when you say that some people are born with leadership instincts while others are not. But still, we cannot deny the fact that at some point in life and in some or the other aspect, we all have to be the leaders. We all should have the audacity to stand for the right and should have the right skills to lead people around us for good causes and propagandas. Having said that, we also need to realize one more thing. It's not necessary that if you hold a huge office or if you are into politics or administration, only then you are a leader. Even if you are an ordinary human being, life throws so many chances and opportunities for us to be leaders. It's just that we need to identify when and what to do, how to utilize our skills to inspire others and bring a positive change. For that, you should follow and get inspired from the leaders who are working day in and day out to bring about positive changes in society. We should also learn from their mistakes so that we can redefine leadership and our next generations can take up this responsibility with more grace and positivity. There is always scope for doing better. I really feel that BC is one of those persons whom I look up to, and all of us must learn from her life. Well, to end this podcast, there can be nothing better to hear from BC if she has a piece of advice or a message for the youth that is listening to her right now. So, over to you, BC.
So, in summary, I just want to say that we should all accept that there are some changes that will remain even after the coronavirus pandemic has ended. We must anticipate these changes, see the opportunities that they come with, and take those opportunities. We need to envision where we want to be in the next 2, 5, 10 years, and also put the right strategies in place that would help us get to that goal. We also always need to remain committed to our personal and professional development by building skills and learning, expanding our knowledge, and also planning and preparing for positions of leadership. Thank you very much for having me on this podcast. It has been such an amazing time. I've even learned so much from you, the moderator. Everything you have said, all the things you've added to the things I've said, have also been very insightful for me. Thank you so much. And I hope that everyone who has listened has gained one or two things that you can take back into your life and implement. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much, BC, for the beautiful message. I'm sure that all our listeners will take home the message of leadership and empowerment with them. I'm sure they will try to become leaders in their unique ways. I personally am very inspired from you. I feel so overwhelmed and humbled to have you on this platform. It was a pleasure working with you. Thank you so much for sparing your precious time. I know you are very busy, and despite all the time zone differences, you managed to record with us. We are truly honored to have you. Thanks a lot for sharing such wonderful insights and your personal experiences. Thank you for inspiring the youth of the world. Along with this, I would like to thank all our listeners for keeping up with us. Please do keep following us and keep showering your love on all these youth leaders. I really hope that we are able to bring a bit of a difference in all of yours life, and together we can all change the world in a positive manner. Till the next time, I wish you a goodbye. Please take care of your health and be positive. See you next time very, very soon. Signing off, this is your host, Lovepreet Kaur. Bye bye.